How's it going, everyone? So today, my HP Elite 8300 CMT, some of it is going into another case, as well as another computer and another computer that I have laying around. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting video. Again, I'm very excited to jump into this. Just wanted to show it in all of its glory before I retire it. This has been my first budget gaming computer, and it's worked beautiful. But as of recent, I have hit a snag in the road where it's time to purchase an ATX computer case, which I'm going to show which one it is in just a moment, as well as another power supply, because although it has a 320 watt power supply, you cannot put a third party one in here with it working properly, because the proprietary connector that HP uses for giving power to the motherboard and etc. from the power supply is just a pain in the neck, and a lot of things can just go wrong, and a lot of things can be wasted, such as time and effort. So with me doing research, it was time for me to buy another PC case as well as a power supply, but everything else I already have ready to go, which is definitely a good thing. But of course, down the road, things will need to be upgraded once again, but this will definitely be something that I'll be able to use, and it will work beautifully to my understanding. So the things I'm bringing over from this HP include the hard drives that are inside, which includes one SSD and two 3.5 SATA hard drives. It's i7-3770 processor, and I'm not exactly sure yet until I dive deep into which one is the best option. I may bring the CPU fan, but if not, I already have one ready to go. I'm only actually taking one 4GB DDR3 RAM because the motherboard that I'm using only has 2 DIMM slots at this time, which is fine. I'm going to be able to at least achieve 12 GB of RAM and use a dual channel setup, so I'll still be okay in that regard, but I am losing out, of course, on 4, which is fine. However, I may eventually get another 8GB RAM stick to get it back to 16, but for now, we're dealing with 12. And other than that, computer is staying pretty much exactly how it's staying. I am going to be putting an i3 processor in here from my Dell Optiplex 3010, and there's again a lot of different parts that are being swapped around, but it's going to work out in the end. It's going to work perfectly, and I'm going to be very happy. So without further ado, let's jump right into this. Okay, so this is pretty much everything that is being utilized in the build. So again, we have the new case to the left, as well as the power supply, as well as the thermal paste on top, and some zip ties to organize the cables. The HP Elite, that's again just going to be using a few parts from that. Then the Optiplex 3010, again, I'm merely using that for putting the i3 that is inside of it into the HP. And then the Vostro is only being utilized for the motherboard, which is already on top of it, as you can see. Okay, so this is how the motherboard looks up close. So again, this is the CPU fan that I may use. I'm not too sure if I'm gonna use the one from the HP or not. This one should be plenty. Then again, I have the 12 GB of RAM already in the DIMM slots. But yeah, so again, just your standard motherboard from the LGA 1155 era, if I'm not mistaken, or the H61 Intel chip style. So yeah, again, this is the motherboard we're using in the build. So we're going to unbox the gaming PC case right now. All right, so there is the Cooler Master gaming PC case. There's plastic on the front, so I am going to have my wife peel this off. All right, yeah, like I was just saying, my wife will go ahead and peel the front plastic off because she loves peeling stuff.
Gotta get the bigger the peel, the better.
Yeah, go ahead. Was that satisfying?
Yeah.
So yeah, this case is mainly made of plastic. There's of course tempered glass on the side for seeing inside of it and whatnot. But there's minimal metal construction. But again, it feels very secure. I mean, you know, it's a little bit flimsy picking it up, but who's going to be picking up their computer case, you know, to move it all the time? Not me, especially. So, not complaining here. Now, this case was $79.99 at Micro Center. Again, I didn't need anything too special, to be honest. Like, this was pretty much all I needed and wanted. I didn't really care for the aesthetics. So this is my first time doing a start to finish PC build. I've worked in IT for years, so I've obviously replaced parts, you know, put components in computers in and out. Again, that's definitely something that is normal to me. But from start to finish, I've never. All right, so here's the inside of the computer case. Okay, so it's pretty cool with this case. You get different color parts that you can put on the case. It comes with white or red, but I believe on their website you can get multiple different colors. Not too sure what I'm going to use yet, but I may use white, to be honest. And I believe there's black already on here, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so yeah, so we're going to pretty much get things going. So we have the rear fan. Not, you know, it's some airflow, but not the greatest, but at the same time, I should be okay with this. So yeah, what we're going to first do is get these cables out of here. in this plastic so we can have it laid out, and then install the motherboard and pretty much start stealing parts from the other computers that I have here. Oh, very nice. I don't know if this is a standard thing, but they actually gave you some zip ties as well as some screws to mount like things like your SSD and etc. So I didn't even realize these were included. So this was definitely a little nice touch. We're going to get the other side opened up right now. I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to use the RGB yet. I'm not too sure like if this motherboard has input for it yet. Again, I'm definitely planning on upgrading my motherboard to an AMD supported motherboard. I'm thinking about getting a Ryzen 5 3600, but for now, again, I'm using an older motherboard, of course, to be able to support my i7 3770 processor. All right, so this is pretty much the cable management side. So we are definitely going to be figuring this out. What's nice about this, there are two, they're plastic, but trays for your 3.5 hard drives. And there is a mounting point for the SSD. I'm just trying to figure out where. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and install the motherboard and make sure it fits, which it definitely should. Okay, so it's time to pretty much take out the components I need from my old computer. So again, I'm taking the processor. I'm going to be taking the GTX 750 Ti graphics card out of this computer because I am still waiting for my other graphics card that I ordered. And we're going to be using one of the 4 gig DDR3 RAM sticks as well for the build. I am using a flathead, which it does support, of course, but I don't have the, I forgot what style head this uses, what HP uses, excuse me, but flathead works perfectly to get this out. Alright, so we were able to get the CPU fan out. Sorry if you hear any kids screaming outside. Alright, so we're going to pop the CPU out. Be very careful with the processors. Okay, so here's the processor. Just gotta, of course, take off the old thermal paste on both the fan and the CPU. And again, just taking one of these RAM sticks. I'm actually just going to take one of the Samsung ones that's in here. Alright, so now I'm also, of course, taking my drives that I have in here. So we're going to unplug all of these. And I'm using a total of 3 drives. I have a 240 gigabyte SSD, as well as a 2 terabyte, I think it's a Seagate, if I'm not mistaken, and a 500 gigabyte Western Digital. Okay, so before I start I'm actually not going to be using the HP CPU fan because, well, I just realized that, of course, I plan on at least having that computer have the majority of its parts. So I will be just using the fan that is included on the motherboard that I am using for the build, but I have to get this i3 out of here in order to put it in the HP. So again, this is a whole bunch of multiple things going on in this video, of course, but the Vostro, again, that's not being used at all. That was mainly for, of course, the parts, but that computer wasn't being used in the first place. It's just been sitting for the most part, but I figured this motherboard and that motherboard are the same. The one in the Vostro was cleaner than this one. What I mean by cleaner, it just looks like cleaner, like it's less used, because it was less used, not a lot of dust or anything like that. But again, I went with that motherboard instead of this one, just strictly for that reason. But yeah, we're gonna take this i3 and pop it into the HP. Get this lifted out. Okay, all right, now this processor's out. We're going to put it inside of the HP as we speak. All right, so we're going to be installing the CPU right now. So you just want to make sure that there's a yellow marker in the corner of the CPU itself. Sorry, for some reason it wants to focus on my hand, not the CPU. You want to make sure that lines up. All right, and then once it's in place, you can go ahead and lock it back. Now we're going to wipe off the old thermal paste. Now this is a Core i3-3220. So yeah, now we're going to install the fan. We're also going to clean the thermal paste off of the CPU fan as well. So when you're applying thermal paste, you only should use about a pea size of it, but once you continue to do it, you'll get used to it, of course. But yeah, so just only a pea size, right about in the middle. It doesn't have to be pretty, because it will expand that once you put the CPU fan on top. All right, so I'll just line it up. And once it's screwed in, the thermal paste will spread accordingly and all will be good. It's always good to screw in a cross method, just so it's well balanced. All right, and of course we will test this accordingly once I'm done with the other build, which is the most important part. All right, next is the actual motherboard we will be using. So we're going to get this fan unplugged, what? Screwed off of the motherboard. I actually feel like I think I was messing around with it earlier because it's actually not that tight and secure. So yeah, I know I was messing around just checking things out. So yeah, this should just come right off. Oh, that one's still screwed in a little bit. So this is just a Celeron processor, very weak. I am going to be throwing this into, that hurts sometimes. I forgot how strong this thing is. I will be throwing this into the 3010 Optiplex, and like I said, the Vostro will not be used pretty much. So this processor we're going to just take off. For now, we're going to put the i7 in right now and get this cleaned up and get this going. So got that into place, put that down, and get it secure. All right, so we're gonna clean this up, get the old thermal paste off of this one, and apply the CPU fan. Oh, what? So that I was trying to make that like as clean as possible, of course, but it's kind of like went a little bit everywhere, so not a big deal. Again, get this fan cleaned up as well. Here we go. Now we're applying the fan, line it up, and again, you still use the cross method to make sure it's like a well-balanced install. Plug this in, and this motherboard should be pretty much, well, I have to remove this RAM here and swap it for the Samsung one I took out. But this motherboard should be pretty much be ready to go. Well, actually, I lied. Well, no, we're going to install the GPU, of course, once we have the motherboard installed. So let's go ahead and install the Celeron processor in the 3010, and that's when we'll move on to the actual computer build itself. All right, get this secured in place. All right, now we're going to, again, do the same thing. So now we're going to do the same again, wiping off the old thermal paste from the fan. Okay, all right, installing this fan now. Plug the fan in. Again, same thing. And now, again, if I can get it plugged in, Jesus. All right, so now we are done with pretty much the whole swap. So now we're going to focus mainly on the actual build itself now. So let's get a move on. So it is time to install the motherboard. So pretty much all we have to do is line it up to how it needs to be in the case. So essentially, it's to be lined up to roughly here. So we should be lined up. So let's go ahead and screw the motherboard in. So it's not that many screws that I need to, I guess, get this intact with. I'm used to, of course, the case where, you know, where the Vostro, the Optiplex, where there was multiple, right? It feels like all the holes are filled. And this one, it doesn't seem to be the case. But anyways, as I was saying, I plan on down the road upgrading to an AMD supported motherboard and using a Ryzen 5 3600. And they have a bundle deal at Micro Center for it. They have a bundle deal for it, which, again, down the road. I don't need it right now. This will be perfect. Again, this is definitely not where this build is stopping. Okay, so this is secure to the case. So we are in business. I'm not too sure, of course, what order stuff is supposed to be done. Again, first time. Again, so I'm just trying to, you know, figure it all out. Again, I don't have a cover for this right now, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. I don't know, maybe if I can actually steal it from the Vostros. But we are going to remove this bracket here for the GPU. Let's just slide right out now. Right, that should be in place. It's locked in. And we have the ports in the back now. All right, so although it was from the Vostro, I was actually able to get the old plate put on here and lined up correctly. So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about that. Again, not too worried about that same Vostro. Not a big deal. I could always like literally put black paint over it or something like that. So now I think what's next is to install the power supply. So again, I went with the PowerSpec 650 watt RGB semi-modular or semi. Again, this power supply is definitely more than I need, but from an upgradable standpoint, again, I won't have to really worry about much, so this will be plenty, especially for the new graphics card that I'm getting later this week. So here it is. All right, so we're going to install this and keep it going. And we, of course, get all the other necessary cables that we may need, as well as a power cable. And we have extra PCIe slots or pin connectors and SATA connectors, and etc. All right, so let's get this screwed in and in place. I just need to put the plate back on. All right, so now we need to, of course, line up the power supply and get it screwed into the case. My back is hurting from sitting on this damn ground for so long. Oh. And sorry for the non-professional angles. Okay, power supply is installed. All right, now we're in the spot to pretty much get my hard drives mounted, and then we're going to worry about cable management, and we will be done. Get this first one in. Nice. I like these a lot. Again, plastic, but they're perfectly fine. All right, nice. So we got those in place. So now we're going to mount the SSD. So right here, like pretty much to the right of the motherboard. All right, SSD is mounted. So now we're going to worry about cable management. So pretty much, I'm going to get these cables handled. Now I'm going to show you the finished look of the inside of the computer once I'm done. Okay, as you can see, cable management is not my forte. It's not that bad over here. I actually have most of the, I actually cannot use the RGB connectors until I get a new motherboard, which again, that's gonna be some time now. So these fans will work, whatever, that's the, of course, the plan for that, and that's the purpose. But like I was saying, over here though, cables are, yeah, you know, I got some zip ties going on, but some of these are just kind of stuffed in here, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna obviously be planning on replacing the motherboard, so I'll really worry about cable management at that point. So we're going to now go ahead and test this, make sure it turns on and stuff, and yeah. I'm actually thinking about swapping the motherboard that's in an Optiplex 3010 into the gaming computer and taking that one out, because there could be a chance that that motherboard is bad, which the last time I used the Vostro, it was good, if I'm not mistaken, but something could have changed, who knows. So let's go ahead and plug in the 3010 to see what it does. Okay, so my 3010 is booting right now. I'm just waiting for it to boot completely. So I don't know if somehow maybe I don't have, what, as stupid as this sounds, the power cable not properly connected to where it's unable to pick up that I'm pushing it. That could be what's going on. I'm hoping it's as simple as that. And I misspoke earlier. This is a Pentium, not a Celeron, but this is picking up the new CPU just fine too. So honestly, I think it's just something as simple as something's up with the power button. So I'm going to look into that. I have to go get my wife really quick, but yeah, I'm going to look into that right after. But both computers are working just fine, which is a good sign to me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to just dig a little bit deeper, I guess. So these little cables right here, I don't have them plugged in. So I'm pretty sure that is my issue. So my wife and I are figuring this out right now. I'm going to fire it up. It should be working. Again, my cable management skills pretty much suck. I cannot use my RGB until I get a converter or until I get a newer style motherboard. I had to get a male USB 3.0 to female USB 2.0 converter in order for this to work for my front ports. Okay, so due to my build having an older motherboard that didn't support USB 3.0, I'm going to actually be taking this adapter and plugging it into a converter that will convert it to USB 2.0 for me to be able to use my two front ports. So on Amazon, I got a USB 3.0 female to USB 2.0 male adapter. So this should fix my problems for now. And all right, just got to connect this into the motherboard now, and I should be having my front ports be all set.